Part 91. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 928. Do you think I'm here to make fun of you? Do you think I'm here to make fun of you? After a pause, Wan Yuqiang said, That's right, if I were in your position, I would probably think so. To be honest, even I could not have imagined that my thoughts would change so much in such a short period of time, but the fact is that as long as a person encounters obstacles, growth really happens in an instant. And I think the change happened on the day of Qian Jianming's funeral. Looking at the small square box, I felt it was very funny. You said we were fighting over it, why on earth? Is it just to wake up one day at the cost of life? Of course, I dare not say that I will not make mistakes in the future, but at least, my mind has changed on this matter between us. It is true that you did something wrong, and it is true that you do not deserve forgiveness, but what about me? If I really did well, Qian Jianming wouldn't have been able to find you, let alone spend so many years with you. If I were asked to choose again, I would definitely give up and help you. If you are together and can be truly happy, probably, that is the fate between you. It's better than being in a situation like today. Sighing, Wan Yuqiang smiled bitterly, with the three of us, if the situation is like this, no one is the winner. You should be considered a winner, right? Yao Xingqing looked at her lightly, you have a son and a daughter. Even if your son cannot come back to you, he is still your son. Your daughter has always lived with you, and your feelings are there, no matter what you become in the future. I will never die alone, compared to you. I'm the real loser. Even if I don't make such a move, even if I can be with Qian Jianming. In fact, my future life can be seen. My child, it is impossible for me to be born again. Will the Qian family really take a woman who later marries a childless woman seriously? Moreover, given Qian Jianming's character, he might not value me if he really married me. In fact, this may not necessarily be removed, because his previous actions have already explained everything. You obviously had a deep relationship with me before, but you want to divorce you because of me. But on the other hand, as soon as he divorced you, he began to regret it. He is such a person, he doesn't care at all what he gets and what he holds in his hands. There is only what cannot be grasped and what is unknown. Only then will he take it seriously. Then, returning to the previous question, if I really married him, it became the one he could hold onto and be with, as a result. It goes without saying. These days, my mind is not idle either. Over the years with him, scenes flashed before my eyes. I found that I was really stupid and wrong. I don't know what I thought before, why I thought that as long as I persisted, I would one day get my own happiness. Even I didn't know what that happiness was. Forget it, the only thing people can't take in this life is regret medicine. If you hadn't come to tell me this today, or I would have kept these words in my heart for the rest of my life. Before I die, I can untie the knot in my heart, which means God has been kind to me. But Yang Miking, the difference between me and you is that even today, knowing that he went too far, I still want to be with him. Therefore, even for my own wish, I must follow him. If they hadn't looked at me too closely during this period, I would have caught up with him long ago. Your love for him is conditional, and my love for him is also conditional. However, either because I don't have children, or because I haven't been able to get what I want in this life. To this day, I still obsessively think about it. To be with him. You can laugh at me for being stupid, but you are not allowed to interfere with my decision. I believe that with your father's ability, you can help me in this matter, but I really don't need it. What I'm looking forward to now is to be executed earlier so that I can catch up with him earlier. Regardless of whether there is a next life or not, I want to give it a try, and I can assure you that even if I catch up with him, I will not force him. Choose between me and you. I just want to ask him clearly if he really loves me. As long as it is true, I will have the confidence to hold him and keep him by my side. This is what I want most right now, Yang Miking. I have said so much, do you understand? If you really did something, I will hate you forever. Okay, I get it, Wan Yuqiang sighed. The other person's attitude was not a lie. She could tell, or perhaps this woman's true love for Jianming was true. However, if you were really so reluctant to let go, how could you be so cruel and let Jianming die so miserably? Seeing her doubts, Yao Xingqing smiled sadly. You have children, so you won't understand my feelings. To me, Jianming is everything to me. If he abandons me, it will be like the whole world abandoned me. Moreover, I got my job with his help. If he really abandons me, my job will be lost. You know how my family treats me. I can't imagine a life when a person is wandering alone, with no guarantee of food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. In that situation, I would rather die with him than allow him to leave me and find another woman. My love is so selfish, but only my selfish love can really love him. Like you will definitely put more affection on your children than on him. Otherwise, it would be impossible for you to make the decision to divorce him. To be honest, I never thought that you two would reach this point that day. After waiting for half a lifetime, I no longer have this idea, and you actually just satisfied me. It was also because it was so sudden and unexpected that I got a little carried away, which made Jianming reject being with me, which ultimately led to his leaving. What she said about his leaving has a double meaning. One is to leave her, and the other is to leave the world completely. No matter which one it is, anyway, there will be consequences if there are causes. This kind of love is too selfish, and only this kind of love can have such destructive power. Wan Yuqiang is very happy that she has given birth to a pair of children. You won't have such extreme thoughts. Seriously, no matter how serious it gets. She never thought about dying together with Jianming, because, as a mother, she couldn't really leave her child alone without any care. At this moment, she completely understood what Yao Xingqing meant. She really didn't need her help. She chose the path herself. Any interference from outsiders was meddling in her own business, so she would treat it as if she was here. Open your own heart. They are also here to help each other open their hearts. Do you have anything else to say to me? Wan Yuqiang looked at the other party seriously and asked. Live well. Yao Xingqing smiled faintly at her. Don't try to compete with me for money. I said, he is mine. No matter whether there is a next life or not, he will be mine. Okay, Wan Yuqiang nodded. I listen to you, live well. Just to not see Jianming again, I have to let myself live well. By the way. After looking at Yao Xingqing's expression, Wan Yuqiang said continued. By the way, my son and daughter are now living with me, as well as my father. Our whole family will live together for a period of time. After the children have found their own happiness. I'll probably start a new life too, so you don't have to worry. I will definitely not compete with you for money. This life is enough for me. If I were asked to be with him again, I would not agree even to death. He is yours. From the moment I divorced him, I have no intention of fighting with you for such a man again. Okay, you said it yourself, don't go back on it. I will never regret it. It's a deal. It's a deal. The two women who once regarded each other as enemies held hands tightly together. After walking out of the interview room, Qianyan and Qiandekan quickly came forward. Mom, are you okay? Qianyan looked at her mother with some worry. She did not understand what her mother did, but she chose support. In the past, her mother always swallowed her anger for her sake. She has decided that from now on, she will swallow her anger in front of her mother. As long as her mother is willing to do something, she will never object. My mother has already suffered enough in her life. She must not add salt to her wounds anymore. It's okay. Won Yukian touched her daughter's head and then her son's head. Mom just feels that she is really lucky and happy. If it weren't for you, Mom's current fate would probably not be better than Yao Zinking's. Mom has finally figured it out and will take you to have a good life in this life. After you two siblings get married, Mom will see her grandson. Anyway, apart from relationships, Mom wants to try other things. You can also try relationships. If there is a man who is really good to Mom and has good conditions, Mom, you have to hurry up. Qian Yan poked her giggling brother. Isn't that right? Yes, yes. Qiandakan nodded repeatedly and couldn't help laughing. Mom, do you have a feeling that my sister is vying to be your elder and wants to control you? Don't talk nonsense. Qian Yan glared at her brother. I'm thinking about my mother's future. She doesn't know how to think about herself. As children, we can't help but think about her, right? Yes, yes, sister, you are right. Glancing at Qian Yan, Qiandakan murmured in a low voice, anyway, you are the sister, and you are absolutely right in everything. The three mothers got into the car and went home with Mr. Wan. As soon as they opened the door, they were hit by a balloon and were stunned. Welcome back. Uncle Wan, congratulations on your family reunion. Lao Wan, happy events should happen one after another, don't pretend to be confused. Brother Wan, congratulations, congratulations, Yukian, Yanyan, Dakan, welcome. Amidst all the chattering, Wan Yukian's originally worried mind finally calmed down. To be honest, whether she did it intentionally or not, her daughter was unqualified anyway. She originally thought that no one would accept her. She also planned to do her best to please everyone in the future. Unexpectedly, the person who greeted her, it turned out to be such a beautiful result. To be honest, this was the first time in her life that she was so valued by everyone. Suddenly, she felt that she was so happy. The so-called joy comes after all hardships, right? After the meal, Mr. Chi directly asked Mr. Wan's army in front of everyone, Old Wan, you have a daughter, granddaughter, and grandson. Do you plan to give Xiaoyan an explanation at some time? Of course, this was meant for Wan Yuqian. Without waiting for her father to answer, she quickly stood up with a smile, Uncle Chi. Don't worry, this matter won't be delayed any longer. I made an agreement with my dad when I was in the hospital. When I was discharged from the hospital, I would take care of the affairs between him and Aunt Yin, and the condition my father said at the time was that as long as he could help bring my children back to him, I would take care of it. Now the facts have proved that my father was very successful in doing this. If it had been done by anyone else, it would not be like this. I am very, very happy. I will definitely make sure my dad's wedding is well organized. That's pretty much it. Mr. Chi nodded appreciatively. As a person, especially as a man, you must keep your word, otherwise it will be too disappointing. Anyway, this matter was discussed in front of everyone today, and we are just waiting to drink wedding wine and eat wedding candies. If anyone regrets it again, we will delay it. Don't blame me for being unkind in the future. Everyone knows what my medical skills are like, and everyone knows what my personality is like. I can guarantee that if someone messes with me, if you ask me for help in the future, I will never agree. Let me reiterate, I am not threatening anyone. I just re-examined the principles of my work, and I couldn't accept it. You can stay away from me in the future, I will never say anything bad to you. Mr. Wan looked at him with a dark look. Are you not irritating me? Are you feeling particularly uncomfortable? You even used threats. We have been together for more than a day or two. Do you think it's just my character? Do you need to do this? Don't you think that by doing this you are insulting both my face and yours? If I were as rebellious as you said, would you still be willing to date me? Or it can be said that if it is as unreliable as you say, Doesn't it mean that your eyesight is also not very good, and you were fooled by me so easily? Are you blushing? Go, go, go. Mr. Chi glared at him. Stop flattering yourself. When did I admit that I was your friend? If it weren't for my apprenticeship, do you think I would be willing to talk to you? Do you know who I hate the most in my life? Mr. Chi snorted coldly. You are a disgusting person who talks without keeping his word, especially when you talk to women without keeping your word. Anyway, I've said it all today. I never lie. If I do something that goes beyond my bottom line in the future, don't think I'm threatening you and being rude. Okay, Mr. Wan also looked serious. Brother Chi, I promise you that I will never do anything that exceeds your bottom line. You can also rest assured that there will never be any deviation from what I said. This is also the last time I will review this matter. If you still don't believe it, then don't believe it yet. Time is the best diagnosis. Over time, you will naturally know whether what I said is true. As the victim, Mrs. Yin's face was as red cloth. These days, she has been staying at the Lin family. She was originally supposed to accompany Chu Xia, but the sudden appearance of her teacher Tongzi interrupted the original plan, which also made her feel uncomfortable staying at the Lin family. Everyone was afraid that she would think too much, so they would ask her to help with a little thing every day. However, she was not the kind of shameless person who would eat for free every day. How could she feel at ease? She is not an eldest lady who is ignorant of the sufferings of the world. She is very clear about the living standards of ordinary people. No matter how good the conditions of the Zhou family are, she has no part in taking advantage of them. Moreover, Chu Xia is Mr. Wan's god-granddaughter. It's not clear to her how much the old man values his god-granddaughter. She doesn't want her god-granddaughter to be unable to hold her head high in the Zhou family because of her. Of course, this possibility basically does not exist. We can tell from the attitude of Tong family and Zhou Mikang towards Chu Xia. However, even though she clearly knows this, she still can't accept it calmly. I originally thought clearly, no matter what, I must keep going. On this day, when she really faced it, she realized that things were not as simple as she imagined. Your thoughts were beyond your control. If you were idle, she would wonder whether to really leave. She even used her free time these days to go out and look for a job, but in the end she was not admitted due to one reason or another. This made her feel even more aggrieved. After all, she was originally a teacher, but now she was reduced to a position where it was difficult to find an ordinary job. If this continues, she will probably have to find a job as a nanny for ordinary people. Fortunately, it was just when she was desperate. Finally she saw a glimmer of light. Chu Xia has been observing the expressions of several people at this moment. I let go of my heart for the most part. In this matter, Mr. Chi has some elements of fighting against injustice. The key thing is that she came up with the idea. After all, she is a junior and there are some things that are difficult to say. It is perfect for Mr. Chi to say it. No matter in terms of age or seniority, there is no one here who is more suitable than Mr. Chi. Of course, she has also been observing Wan Yuqiang's expression, looking at it now. The other party has really figured it out and really hopes that Sister Yin can marry Mr. Wan. To be honest, when I went to see Wan Yuqiang during this period, I felt that her character had become much more tolerant. However, after all, the bad traits in the past were there, which made her always feel unbelievable. Now it seems that she has a villainous heart, even though the other party has not spoken. However, the look she looked at Mrs. Yin was full of intimacy, and she obviously regarded her as a family member. While she was still thinking, she saw Wan Yuqiang taking the initiative to bring a cup of tea to Mrs. Yin. She gave it to the other party respectfully, and sister-in-law Yin was stunned for a while, and was reminded by everyone's booing. Then he took the tea and drank it in one gulp. "Auntie, please bear with me if I did something wrong in the past. I actually mentioned this to you once before, but I never said it after that. It's not that I regretted it, or that I forgot, but that the messy things going on in the GN family made me confused. Now that I think about it, I am really too selfish. When it comes to my own affairs, I always ignore my dad's affairs. I'm sorry, it's all my fault that makes you in trouble. No, no, sister-in-law Yin waved her hands repeatedly, looking at a loss. To be honest, Wan Yuqian had changed too much, even though the other party had mentioned this matter before and tried to persuade her. Mr. Wan also agreed to help them organize their wedding, but she still didn't believe it. She even felt that Wan Yuqian might have been provoked by Yao Xingqing's incident to make such a decision. When she slowly calmed down, she would definitely not support her being with Mr. Wan. Now it seemed that she had really wronged the other party. It was just because of her mood problems during this period that she didn't always mention this matter. Thinking of this, she felt terribly guilty. To be honest, since she mentioned it that time, and when she went to deliver meals, the other party never mentioned it again. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that the other party had gone back on her word. Alas, she didn't expect that she was being petty. What they said is right. When you encounter such a big event, how can you still think about this and that? Speaking of which, she was really surprised to be able to come out and recover so well in such a short period of time. But Aunt Yin, there is one thing I have to clarify. Whether you are happy or not, it will not change. That is, I can never call you mom. Pick up, I'm sorry, I really can't. Wan Yuqian smiled sheepishly. The age difference between us is not too big, and I have a mature face. If I really call you that, probably you will be awkward if I don't. Sister-in-law Yin's face turned even redder and she couldn't help but look at it. How should she answer this question? Okay. Mr. Wan hurriedly stepped forward to rescue him. Yuqian, you have just been discharged from the hospital. Some things have been postponed for later. Today is the day for our family reunion, so let's celebrate our reunion first, and nothing else. Let's talk about it later. Yes, yes, today is a celebration. Mr. Zhao answered. Originally, we wanted to celebrate the day Xiaomi was discharged from the hospital. It was Xia and Xiaomi who said that they would wait until Yuqian was discharged from the hospital. Celebrate, then, today is a happy day. From now on, I hope that we all will have lots of happy events. Let's have a drink, okay? Mrs. Zhao stared at him helplessly. Are you hungry for wine? How can you have a drink before the meal is ready? Are you thinking too much? Mr. Zhao curled his lips. I said tea, I didn't say wine. Look at you, we have been married for so many years, but why do you still not understand me so well? How many times have I told you that in order to let my little grandson see me healthy as soon as he is born, I have to avoid everything that should and should not be avoided? I used to smoke and have many loves, but now you see me smoking. Do you want me to be more addicted to cigarettes or alcohol? Thinking about it this way, don't you feel particularly shameless? You haven't even figured out your wife's character. What do you think your mind is thinking about all day long? To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 929. Updated, more updates starting tomorrow. Old Mrs. Zhao looked at her wife speechlessly. This old guy had already picked up the wine bottle to pour the wine, but now he could actually hold a teacup. The red mouth and white teeth said it as if it was true. He was seriously ill. Nothing else has improved, but the thickness of my face has increased. Look, you're looking at me like this, as if I'm lying. What I said is obviously true. Mr. Zhao said as he pointed to the wine bottle that he had moved aside. I was just disgusted with it. This was in the way, so I moved it to the side. Mrs. Zhao. Well, my wife is so thick-skinned that she can't say anything and doesn't know what to answer. Okay, just know you're wrong. I don't blame you. Mr. Zhao said as he raised his teacup and looked at everyone, let's celebrate with tea instead of wine. After a while, the food will be ready. Let's celebrate formally. Okay, Mr. Chi responded cooperatively and stood up. Seeing this, the others also stood up and picked up tea one after another, cooperating to give Mr. Zhao face. Old Mrs. Zhao glanced at her wife who looked complacent, and shook her head speechlessly, but she was angry and funny in her heart. The old man usually likes to drink a few sips, but he has not been able to drink since he fell ill. He must have been too greedy to bear it. At this moment, he was just pretending to be confused and wanted to take the opportunity to drink. When the food was served and everyone sat at the table, Mr. Zhao kept glancing at the wine bottle. His eager look finally made Mr. Chi feel compassionate. He looked at Mrs. Zhao and said, "Sister-in-law, let Brother Zhao have a small drink. It'll be okay." "Thank you, Mr. Chi, thank you, Mr. Chi." Before Mrs. Zhao could speak, Mr. Zhao has already impatiently handed the wine glass to Zhou Mixang. "Xiaomi, pour me a glass too." Mrs. Zhao was so angry that she pushed him. "You are so old and you are so greedy for wine, you are not afraid of the children's jokes. Look at this table full of people, who is as shameless as you." He. Mr. Zhao, whose wish was fulfilled, was surprisingly good-tempered. When his wife accused him like this, he just smiled stupidly. Not a word of rebuttal. Zhao Yulan felt sorry for her father, so she stayed close to Mrs. Zhao and whispered, "Mom, it's not easy for Dad to endure it for so long. Mr. Chi has spoken, so there should be no problem." "I know there's no problem. I just can't stand the way he looks like he's greedy for alcohol. He keeps saying that he wants to compete for face in front of his little great-grandson. He looks like this now and his little great-grandson sees it. It's weird that he still has the face. Woolen cloth." "I won't drink any more." Hearing what his wife said, Mr. Zhao quickly handed the cup back in his hand. "As an elder, you should keep your word. If you don't drink it, you won't drink it in the future. Drink less." Mrs. Zhao shook her head helplessly and waved to Zhou Mixang. "Put the wine in front of his face." He looked at his wife again. "Just don't make such an expression that you will die if you see the wine in the future. Everyone is happy today, and I won't disappoint you. Young master, have a drink. Since Mr. Chi has spoken, there is nothing to worry about. As for the future, you have to weigh it yourself. The doctor also said that drinking in moderation is good for the body. I won't stop you. I just can't stand the poor and humble look you just looked like. I got sick, and I lost all my status in the family." Mr. Zhao sighed and pushed the wine glass out. "I said I won't drink, so I won't drink. Take it away." The old man said this, but his eyes were uncontrollably glancing at the wine glass, and his nose was twitching. Chu Xia found it funny, but she also knew that her grandfather felt so embarrassed and humiliated at the moment that she could not follow him anymore. Adding fuel to the fire, he smiled and pushed the wine glass in front of the old man. "Grandpa, drink some. This is good wine, and drinking it won't do any harm to your health. Anyway, just drink this glass, and you'll be fine." After a moment of hesitation, Mr. Zhao brought the wine in front of him. "Xiadu said so, and it won't be good if I push it further, so just drink it." As he spoke, he picked up the wine glass and sniffed it. "Ha ha ha." Now, everyone who had been holding back really couldn't bear it anymore. Mr. Zhao himself also laughed coquettishly, and then tried to save himself. "I am doing this to make you laugh. In fact, I am not very greedy for wine, really." Yes, we believe it." Chu Xia looked at her grandpa funnily. "The question is, Grandpa, do you believe it yourself? You kid." Mr. Zhao glared at his granddaughter and admitted openly, "Yes, I am greedy for wine, but if you don't let me drink, I can hold it back. I am an outsider, so I will shamelessly take the lead. I propose that everyone raise their glasses and congratulate Wan Lao's family on their reunion, and also congratulate Mr. Xiao Zhou's family on their reunion," Mr. Qi said while raising his glass to Mr. Zhao. "Brother Zhao, you control the amount yourself." Mr. Zhao was a little embarrassed, but he finally picked up the wine glass and took a sip. The mellow and refreshing feeling made him narrow his eyes unconsciously. After a moment, he breathed a sigh of relief. "It's hard to stop drinking this wine." "Then what did you say just now?" Ms. Zhao said as she put a chopstick of green vegetables in front of him. "Don't just drink, eat vegetables. If you really want to drink, you have to take good care of yourself first." I know," Mr. Zhao responded and smiled at everyone. "As we get older, we need someone to take care of us. They are doing it for our own good, so we have to appreciate it." Everyone. "Old man, don't you just want to have a drink? Look at your explanation right now. Are you trying to cover up your guilty conscience?" But from another perspective, one person's guilty conscience represents the importance he attaches to another person's opinion, and the emphasis on another person's opinion represents the other person's intention. Mr. Wan stood up, raised his glass and looked at Mr. Zhao. "Brother Zhao, for the deep relationship between you and your sister-in-law, let's do something. You take a small sip, and I take a small sip. Our friendship doesn't matter how much we drink, okay?" Mr. Zhao glanced at his wife, and when he saw no objection, he said, "Okay, then I also wish you and Xiaoyan to get married soon. From now on." The old man smiled proudly. "You also have to be controlled. When you get up, you can experience the feeling I have. Mr. Wan has a dark streak, and it's not his first time getting married. How can he not know this feeling?" Wan Yuqiang also thought of this problem in an instant, and what filled her heart was the longing and guilt for her biological mother. If it weren't for her previous choices, her mother might still be alive now, right? Thinking of this, tears welled up uncontrollably, and she hurriedly lowered her head to hide it. "Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong with you?" Qian Yan noticed something was wrong with Wan Yuqiang. Her face turned pale with fright, and she lost control of her voice, which attracted everyone's attention. Wan Yuqiang tried hard to swallow her choked words, but she couldn't. She simply raised her head and smiled at everyone. "I'm fine, She looked at her father apologetically. "I just feel that I have made too many mistakes in the past, causing irreparable damage in this life, and I feel very uncomfortable. Fortunately, God has been kind to me and allowed our family to reunite at this time. I promise that I will never do such self-righteous wrong things again in the future, let alone hide anything from my family." Mr. Wan sighed and looked at his daughter. "It's been so many years, don't punish yourself for your past mistakes. Moreover, if it comes down to it, you are at fault, so are your mother and I. If we gave you full trust and full attention, you probably wouldn't have reached that point. It was your mother and I who didn't care enough about you that made you take a detour. Now that the two children have returned to you, they can live a good life and let nature take its course. Dad will also express his attitude to you in front of everyone today. No matter what you do in the future, as long as it does not violate Dad's principles of life, will do their best to help you. Thank you, Dad." Wan Yuqiang picked up the wine glass and looked at Aunt Yin. "Aunt Yin, let me toast you and formally apologize for everything I have done to you." "No, no, 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 no need to do that. Ms Yang quickly stood up, waving her hands. You have nothing to apologize to me for, it's just for others to see. I know, don't take all the mistakes on yourself. Old MRSG laughed. I suggest you both have a drink. The past is in the past. Getting along well in the future is better than anything else. The two people who were going to become mother-in-law and daughter-in-law really took a sip each. Then, you toasted me and I toasted you, and the wine table became lively. Sister, I like it here. Chiendican leaned into Qianyan's ear and whispered, it has never been so lively at my grandparents' house before. Even during the holidays, it's not interesting. Qianyan nodded, I like it here too. It's really lively. The sudden appearance of MRSGN made the lively scene quiet for an instant. Why is she here? Chiendican grabbed Qianyan's hand in panic. Didn't she want to take me back, right? Don't panic, let's wait and see. Qianyan held her brother's hand firmly. Grandpa hasn't come, so there might be a better chance. Dickon, Yanyan, don't you know Grandma? At this moment, MRSGN had already turned her attention to the siblings and walked over with a smile. Wan Yukian hurriedly greeted her, Mom, you didn't even say a word when you came. We can also wait for you to have dinner together. Old MRSGN smiled and took her hand, looking her up and down. Yes, she's recovering well, so I'm relieved. Then she turned to look at everyone. Looking at your expressions, you don't seem to welcome me. Coming, huh? No, Mr. Wan sighed softly, my dear, you all agreed before. The child has just been discharged from the hospital and his body has not recovered yet. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 930. 1. Page 1 will be updated soon. Zhou Mikang's face quickly turned red to the root of his neck at Lin Yangkai's cold words. Before he could push his mother away, Zhu Xingqin appeared at the door, scolding Lin Yangkai, but looking at him with full eyes. It is promoting narrowness. He knew how wicked Aunt Jing, who had been in love with his mother all their lives, was. Seeing Chu Xia hide behind Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe in fear, Zhou Mikang stepped forward and stood directly in front of Zhu Xingqin. Aunt Jing, usually I won't interfere no matter how much trouble you and my mother have, but this time, I can't. Zhu Xingqin looked him up and down and laughed dumbly, Little B, are you scared? Ha ha ha. Then she looked at Chu Xia, Little Chu Xia, if you marry Little B, you will have to live in the same room with your jealous mother-in-law. Okay. Look at how affectionate she was with her son just now. After this, she will be so angry when she sees you affectionate with her son. It would be better to marry our Xiaojie. My son and I get along very well. No matter how happy we are, we will never kiss my son on the face. Lin Yangkai waved her hand and interrupted her, okay, stop sowing discord. My Xiaomi and Chuxia's marriage has been decided. It's useless for you to talk about these things. It's better to save it. Bar. I was forced to settle down by you. You are using your power to suppress others. I can't stand it. Have you told Xiao Chuxia about Xiaomi and Yamiru? Seeing Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe's expressions change, Mr. Zhou had to stand up and said, Xiao Zhu, I shouldn't get involved in the matter between you and Yan Qiu, but this time it's different. Xiaomi and Chu Xia's marriage has been decided. You said it's not suitable for you to come to our house and destroy it. Right? Besides, if you do this, how will Xiaoji and Xiaomi get along in the future? Chu Xia is Xiaozhe's student. How do you want Chu Xia and Xiaozhe to get along? Zhu Xingqin's eyes flashed and she looked at Chu Xia. Little Chu Xia, Aunt really likes you. No matter who you choose in the end, you are the child that Aunt likes. From now on, you can get along with Xiaozhe how you want to get along with Xiaozhe. Also, yes, Auntie wants to tell you that self-improvement is more important for a girl than anything else. You can't give up your future just because you get married. After saying that, he nodded to Zhao Yulan and Lin Bao. He turned around and pulled Jingzhe, son, let's go home. Xiaoqin. As soon as Mrs. Zhou opened her mouth, she was interrupted by Zhu Xingqin. Aunt Zhou. I know why you called me to come over, and I also know why you stayed me for dinner. If my son likes it, I will definitely like it, so even though I knew you were taking advantage of me, I rushed over anyway. Certainly. I don't regret being used by you, because I have said everything I want to say, and Xiao Chuxia already knows my son's thoughts. I also know the attitude of our family, which is enough for me. As for who Xiao Chuxia will marry in the end, we respect her choice and will never interfere in any way. But Aunt Zhou, let me advise you. Let go of your prejudices and take a good look at Xiao Chuxia. She is countless times stronger than Yamiru, so stop worrying about that woman. Also, if Xiao Chuxia marries into the Zhou family and suffers injustice, I will not stand idly by. He is my son's student, and I am her grandmother. I have the right to protect her. After saying that, she ignored the open-mouthed old Mrs. Zhou and walked out of the door. Jingzhe smiled apologetically at everyone. He quickly chased after him. I don't like Lin Chuxia either. After Mrs. Zhou said this dryly, she turned around and went back to the bedroom to hide. This is such a happy event. Lin Yangqiu stomped her feet angrily. I'll settle the score with her later. If she doesn't give me a little trouble, she'll feel uncomfortable all over. After saying that, she stepped forward to hold Chu Xia. Chu Xia, you believe me, our family will definitely treat you well. I know. Chu Xia smiled and looked at everyone with different expressions. It's all for my own good, I know. The old ladies sighed. Zhao Yushan looked at everyone with a somewhat uneasy expression. I know it is a great blessing for our family to get married in early summer, but, the old ladies sighed. I didn't want to tell you about this matter. Since Xiao Zhu has opened it up, it's better to tell it sooner rather than later. This way, you can rest assured. Mr. Zhou sighed and asked everyone to sit down. Then he said, I believe that you all have concerns in your heart. How could Xiaomi not be able to find a wife with such good conditions? It's only been half a month since early summer, so why would Xiaomi insist on marrying her? I believe these thoughts have been spinning around in your heads for countless times. It is impossible for anyone to stop thinking about this matter. Yes, Xiaomi had been engaged before. She is the child of my old comrade in arms. The two children grew up together, have a good temperament, and are similar in age. So we decided to get engaged early. Later, we secured places for our two children to study abroad. They were the last group of children we sent abroad. At that time, we wanted to let our two children see more of the world. Later, most of the children who studied abroad were repatriated, and the two of them were also included in the repatriation quota. Xiaomi's tutor liked Xiaomi and her family had some background, so she left the two children there to continue their studies. But after all, they were both still young at that time, and there was no guidance from their elders around them. Xiaomi focused entirely on her studies, so the relationship between the two children became worse and worse, and later they separated. Xiaomi is a stubborn child. After they separated, no one introduced her to her anymore. After all these years, Chu Xia was the only girl he liked. Xiaomi, 1, page 2. Grandma and Xiaomi have similar temperaments, and they are also stubborn. She has always felt that Miru is her granddaughter-in-law. If it were anyone else, it would be difficult for her to get over the hurdle in her heart. But don't worry, after the 2 children get married and get along for a long time, Xiaomi and his grandmother will definitely be able to turn around. As long as she turns around, no matter what others say, she will only protect Chuxia. Lin Yangqiu quickly answered, yes, my mother-in-law is like this. Don't worry, she will definitely like Chuxia. Xiaomi's temperament is so similar to hers. If Xiaomi likes it, she will definitely like it. Aunt Zhou also said, yes, my mother-in-law is just that kind of person. She will be the most stubborn at this time, but maybe she will be the most protective of Chuxia in the future. Well, my grandma is really such a person. That's right, my third brother likes it, there's no reason why she shouldn't like it. Zhou Mikang stood up, waved his hand to interrupt the expressions of everyone in the Zhou family, and looked at Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan seriously. Father, mother, as long as I am here, Chuxia will not suffer. It was such a simple sentence, but his expression and tone finally made Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan feel relieved. At the same time, they understood the reason why Zhou Mikang fell in love with Chuxia, and the stone in their hearts was finally lifted. Opened. This time, without the Zhou family having to say anything, Lin Baohe took the initiative and said that the Zhou family would just take care of the matter. He and Zhao Yulan had no objection at all. It's up to us. Mr. Zhou smiled and waved his hand. You are just a girl, so of course I have to listen to your opinion. For the engagement, the man needs to go to the woman's house, but for now, early summer is not great for taking time off. Of course, we don't mind if Chuxia quits the army and finds another job, but judging from the previous agreement between her and Xiaomi, I'm afraid she won't be willing to leave the medical team. Since she wants to stay there, she must think more about how she will get along with her comrades in the future. If the gap is too big, there will inevitably be jealousy and comparison. As far as Chuxia's physical condition is concerned, one more thing is worse than one less thing, so we also agree with her idea of not announcing it for the time being. Otherwise, let's have an engagement banquet together the day after tomorrow. Even if this matter is settled, when we get married, we will definitely not wrong Chuxia. What do you think? Lin Baohe glanced at his wife's expression, then at the expressions of his brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and immediately made a decision. We have no objection, let's do whatever we want. Mr. Zhou looked at Chuxia. Little Chuxia, what do you think? Chuxia stood up generously and bowed to Mr. Zhou. Thank you, Grandpa, for thinking about me so much. I have no objection. I will follow Grandpa's arrangements for everything. Haha. Mr. Zhou's original grudge against Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan has completely disappeared. He smiled heartily and patted his eldest son on the shoulder hard. Jingping, are you happy? Zhou Jingping nodded excitedly. Of course I'm happy. My son is willing to call him Dad. My son finally got out of the haze of that failed relationship. How could he not be happy? Do you want to report this matter to? Zhao Yushan pointed to the bedroom where old Mrs. Zhou was staying, smiling sheepishly. Do you want to report to the old lady? It's not that I don't believe what Uncle Zhou said, but I don't want to. Aunt Zhou will have troubles in her heart from now on because of this matter. Mr. Zhou waved his hand and said, I will discuss this matter with her later. She has such a bad temper. She will be embarrassed now. It's useless to ask her. This. Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe's bank books were placed on the table. This is too much. We really can't accept it? Of course, we will definitely ask for the required gift money. The implication is that the Zhou family can prepare appropriate gifts for them on the day of engagement. Mr. Zhou turned his eyes to Zhou Mikang, and you could tell from his expression that he was letting Zhou Mikang make his own decision. Zhou Mikang took the bank book back and took a look at it. He was silent for a while and said, "Okay, I'll take this back first and give it as a gift on the day of the engagement. I have a request." Chusia hesitated and stood up. "The engagement is limited to our own people, okay? There are many eyes and many mouths, and she really doesn't want anyone to attach the aura of the Zhou family to her when her career is no longer promising." "Okay," Zhou Mixang agreed painfully, "I have promised you this a long time ago. If you don't tell me, I will tell my family. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind." Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 931. Second update. I wrote the wrong chapter in the previous chapter, and Nuan couldn't change it, so this chapter went down normally. I came here by bus. Old MRSGN smiled at her daughter-in-law and grandchildren. Otherwise, how could the old man not know about it? Even if we were unhappy with him, after all we had lived together for a lifetime, it would not be too stiff. It's better not to be too stiff. Mom. Wan Yuqiang's eyes were red and she didn't know what to say. Obviously, the old lady sneaked out behind her family's back, and she did this just because she didn't want it to be difficult for the three of them. "Grandma." Qian Yan stepped forward and held the old lady's arm. "I will take you home." Qiandakan quickly put his arm around the old lady's other side. "Grandma, I'll give it to you too." Okay, I appreciate your filial piety. Grandma is not old enough to even sit on the bus." The old lady stopped her grandchildren and said, "Of course Grandma also wants to spend more time with you. For a while, but for the long-term future, we must pay attention to it." Qian Yan thought for a while and said, "How about we take you to the station?" "Okay this time," the old lady agreed. Wan Yuqian had just been discharged from the hospital, so the old lady naturally wouldn't let her see her off. Seeing her son, daughter, and the old lady walking away, Wan Yuqian sniffed and returned to the room. Seeing his daughter's heavy mood, Mr. Wan advised, "Yuqian, your mother-in-law is reasonable. However, filial piety is not temporary. The days will be long in the future. For now, it is your business to take good care of your body. Without your health, it's impossible to do anything." "Dad, I know." Wan Yuqiang smiled apologetically at everyone. "I didn't mean to be pretentious. I really didn't know my mother-in-law was such a person before, but now I feel very sorry for her. People can't always live in regrets. The past is the past. Looking forward." Old MRSG looked at her. He said with a serious face, "If you are always so sorry for yourself, whether it is your mother-in-law or your father, all the worries they have for you will be in vain." "Aunt Chi, I know." Wan Yuqian nodded gratefully to MRSG. "You helped me take care of Yanyan before, but if it weren't for your influence, Yanyan wouldn't be so sensible. We can continue to be neighbors. I'm really happy to be so close to you. Don't worry, I won't be immersed in the emotions of the past forever. I already know why my mother-in-law did this. All I can do is live well and give my two children a good future. When my mother-in-law needs help one day, I have the ability to help her." "Dad." She looked at Mr. Wan. "From now on, I will never just ask you to help me with everything, I will also work hard myself. The same goes for children. Let them beat themselves and have the ability to cope with things. In fact, it is better than anything else. I really didn't expect that the situation of Aunt Wan's family would change so much. Who would have thought of this a few months ago?" When she got home and was alone with Zhou Mikang in the evening, Chu Xia couldn't help but sigh, "So I really can't say what will happen to this person in the future. Yes, sometimes what you see and hear may not be true." Zhou Mikang held his little wife in his arms and caressed her bulging belly with his hands. "So you have to remember, if one day you hear any rumors about me, don't believe them unless I tell you them myself." "TCH, Chu Xia rolled her eyes, "Is what you told me personally true?" "Don't forget, if I hadn't met you this time, you would have continued to lie. I think we should make an agreement that no matter what happens to either of us, good or bad, we must tell the other, and we cannot deceive the other with self-righteous white lies. Since we are husband and wife and have a baby, we should be the closest people to each other. Is there anything that we cannot say to the closest people? Anyway, I just think that no matter good or bad, the other person should be informed. For example, when their partner is seriously ill, many people choose to hide it, thinking it is for the other person's good, but I don't think so. It is true that everyone's psychological endurance is different. Some people may collapse suddenly after hearing bad news, leading to a drastic physical decline. However, there is another kind of person who has a strong psychological endurance, such as me. Speaking of which, I have experienced life and death, so life and death are not the scariest thing here. The scariest thing is that you find yourself leaving before you are prepared and have not done what you want to do. This kind of shock can never be made up for, so Jo Mi-kang, remember, in this life, when you and I are together, don't hide anything from me or lie to me. You have to believe in my mental endurance and my ability to handle things. You have to believe that I will never be a drag on you. As long as you are willing, I will definitely be your best assistant. Finished. After thinking about it, Choo-seok nodded, that's all I want to say right now. If you weren't pregnant with the baby now, I really want to beat you up. Jo Mi-kang glared at her dissatisfied, listen to what you said? This is unprovoked, what kind of disease or disaster is it related to? I'm not superstitious, but at a young age, I don't want to hear you talk about yourself like this. I want you to be healthy all the time, and you're not allowed to talk nonsense like this again, do you understand? I'm not just making a metaphor. Choo-seok looked at him speechlessly, it's not like I've said this, something will really happen to me. I'm just chatting with you, asking you to know what I don't mind and what I don't mind. Don't use metaphors like this, Jo Mi-kang pinched her nose angrily, I'll keep this in mind for you. If you keep talking nonsense like this, see how I deal with you. Overbearing. Yes, I am so domineering, Jo Mi-kang glared at his young wife, do you know what I was thinking when I fainted? After thinking about it for a while, Choo-seok said, I must wake up. I can't let myself face everything with my child. Yes, this is the key reason, so my request to you is the same. No matter when the time comes, you must stay with me and the child, and don't make any bad assumptions. I don't like the feeling of being about to lose, and I don't even want to think about it. After a pause, the teacher tongues aside, when I didn't wake up, I could hear your voice, but I couldn't do anything. It's such a terrible feeling. Every time you spoke, I tried my best to wake myself up, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't. I was very scared at the time, afraid that I would have to lie there for the rest of my life. In early summer, I have already tasted this feeling, and I will never let you taste it again. Call me timid or cowardly, but my request to you is that you are never allowed to use this feeling again. Assumptions to reason. Okay, you don't have to make this assumption anymore. Anyway, you understand what I mean. Then you can do anything without lying to me, right? Not even white lies, okay. Okay, Jo Mi-kang nodded seriously, if something happens, I will face it with you, but until something happens, no one of us is allowed to think too much, okay. Okay, Choo-seok responded happily, but in her heart, she felt that the frightened look of the teacher Tongza now was really funny and cute. I'm not afraid of anything. Sensing the little wife's attitude of not paying much attention, the teacher Tongzi explained again, but because of you, I am afraid of everything. I hope you are the same. Okay, I promise to do it. Choo-seok quickly raised her hand, I promise you on behalf of myself and the babies, I will only think about good things and not bad things in the future. Yes, that's it. People, if you think about the good in everything, everything will go smoothly. People who like to think about the bad will inevitably encounter bad things. There is a scientific reason for this. You see, if you always think well, your mood will be good, your mood will be good, your temper will be good, your temper will be good, and others will like you. If others like you, you will naturally get more help. If you have more help, everything will go smoothly. On the contrary, if you always think bad things, you will naturally be in a bad mood. If you are in a bad mood, you will have a bad temper. If you have a bad temper, others will stay away from you. It is impossible to be alone without friends. Josei interrupted him with a smile. I found that you have become very wordy now. A walk on the Huangquan road will naturally make you a little more wordy. Josei curled her lips at him. I was told not to say anything unlucky just now. Now you have done it yourself. What should you do? You tell me, whatever punishment you want. I owe you. I haven't thought of a good way to punish you yet. Josei raised her head and glanced at him. Have you decided on a day to leave? After a slight hesitation, Zhou Mikang nodded. In the following days, he could no longer stay by her side, and her body was getting heavier day by day. He heard people say that pregnant women are prone to depression, and he was very worried. Otherwise, he would not be so wordy. So much to say? Don't worry, I will take good care of myself. Besides, my parents and grandparents are all around me. I can see them every day, which makes me feel very good. I will definitely not have any problems due to poor care. I can work with peace of mind. Come back and see me when you have free time. It's enough to be by my side when the baby is born. Okay. Zhou Mikang rubbed her chin with his thumb and sighed. I used to feel particularly worthless when I saw other people falling in love with their families. I didn't expect that. Now it's my turn and I realize that this is simply human nature. Hey, retribution in this world. 2 days later, Zhou Mikang left for City A, and life in early summer returned to what it was before. Half a month later, Mr. Wan and Aunt Yin held their wedding. In fact, several families gathered together to have a lively meal, including the old man and his wife of the Zhou family, Lin Yangkaiu and Zhou Jingping, who all rushed over. To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 932. Dad, do you think you have such a low level of enlightenment? Zhou Shanping looked at his son amusedly. Thankfully, you are still my biological son. No, Zhou Huikang murmured, I just feel that my father didn't even blame me for being unfilial, and I feel guilty. Are you still feeling guilty? Zhou Shanping looked him up and down. Yes, you should be feeling guilty. You should discuss this kind of thing with your family before deciding, and your actions can only explain one problem. That means you have too little awareness of the elders in our family. Just wait, your grandparents will definitely scold you if they find out. If my grandparents really teach me, I'll feel better. Zhou Huikang scratched his head as he said, am I a bit mean? Dad's attitude towards me is so good that I actually feel uncomfortable all over. I think so. Forget it, I'm tired, I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. Zhou Shanping said goodbye to several people, yawned and returned to his room. My dad's physical strength is not as good as before. No matter how late he came back from get off work, he was never so tired. Zhou Huikang sighed and looked at Zhou Kong. Third brother, if something happens to me, you have to help me take care of my dad. Get lost. Zhou Kong glared at him and pulled Josei to stand up. We are not here to listen to his nonsense. You have to forgive him. When you fall in love with a girl, it's especially easy for people to feel sad, Josei said as she turned back and smiled at Zhou Huikang. Am I right? You. Zhou Huikang looked confused. It's too boring to just leave me here. I haven't finished speaking yet. Third brother, do you agree or not? I respect you the most. You can't do this to me. Listening to Zhou Huikang's nagging, Kang was so angry that he turned around and glared again, which scared Kang into silence. However, the expression on his face was extremely aggrieved. Pretend, keep pretending, Kang pointed at him angrily and amusedly, if you can, squeeze out a few tears and show me, and I will promise you. Hee hee. Kang tilted his head and smiled sheepishly, third brother, how come your eyesight is so good? You can see through it at a glance. I'm not blind, Kang snorted coldly and walked to the room. Chu Xia smiled at Kang and said, seventh brother, go to bed early. If you like it, say it. Don't pretend to be a fairy there. Kang nodded with a silly smile and returned to the room. Hey, do you think seventh brother will really confess his love? Chu Xia poked Kang with a look of excitement, am I going to have another younger sibling soon? Kang glanced at her lightly, are you in need of friends? No shortage. Then what are you excited about? Chu Xia. Does this matter? Are friends and relatives the same thing? The expression of someone blinking her big eyes innocently made Kang feel hot, so he smiled and pinched her little nose. I know, you want to have playmates at home, don't worry, during this time I will play with you at home. What do you mean? After the person who was pinned under her came back to her senses, she had already lost control of her body. Her face turned red with anger. Kang. What's wrong? His voice was low. What are you talking about? Chu Xia lowered her hands on the leader's tube. I'm still talking, why did you just start doing this? It's okay, you can continue talking. Is there any way to say this? What else can someone do if his mind is confused by being teased, except to be captured without mercy? When she woke up early in the morning, she saw the regimental leader Zhangzi looking at her and laughing so hard that she wanted to be beaten. Chu Xia bit him on the arm bitterly, asshole. When the other party let go, the group leader took the initiative to offer his other arm, would you like another bite? Early summer. As Zhou Shanping expected, Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou knew about Zhou Kang's plan, and they were given a scolding. Of course, he was distrustful of his family. Zhou Kang sat there with his neck curled up. She didn't know if it was Chu Xia's illusion. She felt that Zhou Kang looked like he was enjoying himself. The phone at home rang quickly, and Lin Yangkaiu, who was nearest, quickly picked it up. After listening to a few words, the expression on her face immediately became wonderful. What's wrong? What happened? Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou asked one after another. The others looked at Lin Yangkaiu with anxious eyes. Judging from her expression, it was impossible to say that nothing happened. Third brother. Lin Yangkaiu looked at Zhou Shanping with a smile, what do you think it is? Seeing Lin Yangkaiu's expression, everyone felt relieved. Old Mrs. Zhou glared at her, why are you so stubborn? Looking at the way you looked just now, who did you want to scare to death? I'm so shocked, so happy, so, haha. Lin Yangkaiu looked at Zhou Shanping and continued to ask, third brother, have you guessed it? Has Iping been found? Zhou Shanping frowned, with a tangled look on his face. After thinking about it, it seemed that not many happy things could happen to him now. Lin Yangkaiu shook her head, no. Mrs. Zhou hesitated for a moment and asked, isn't it the third daughter-in-law who is pregnant? Mom, you are so smart, Lin Yangkaiu nodded her head vigorously, it's really the third brother and sister who are pregnant. Xiao Hong made the call. They went up to check last night and checked again this morning. It's absolutely true. When Lin Yangkaiu finished speaking, Zhou Shanping's figure had disappeared outside the door. Zhou Kang tugged his ears hard, my dad said yesterday that he didn't mind. It's strange that he doesn't mind, he looked at everyone in confusion, so, I'm going to have a brother or sister who is more than 20 years younger than me. Hee hee. Chu Xia replied with a smirk, if you hurry up and get married, you will have a son or daughter about the same age as your younger siblings. Xiahua has a girl he likes. Mrs. Joe was really perceptive. She guessed the root of the problem just by saying that in Chu Xia. Grandma, no, not yet, Zhou Huikang quickly denied. At this moment, all her thoughts were focused on her little grandson who was about to be born. Mrs. Joe stopped giving him a ride and turned to look at Mr. Joe. Eat quickly, let's go to the hospital too. Okay. Okay, Mr. Joe rubbed his hands together. He really didn't expect that at this age, he would be able to hold his grandson again. What a happy event! What a happy event! Mr. Wan sat aside and looked at everyone with a smile. He was really happy for this family. All the hardships he had suffered in the past had turned into blessings. He was very happy to be friends with such a family. Chu Xia quietly sneaked up to Mr. Wan. Grandpa. Mr. Wan looked at her with a smile. Silly boy, Grandpa can only be happy. This is all blessing. I did not admit my wrong, granddaughter, and I did not help the wrong person. Zhao Yulan's eyes unconsciously drifted to her daughter's belly. Everyone was happy. Her daughter must live up to her expectations. Noticing the look in his mother's eyes, Chu Xia was speechless. Is this a matter of course? Ours. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 933. Second update arrived. Sister-in-law Yin, who was originally calm, immediately felt uncomfortable when Mr. Wan took the initiative to mention the woman named Sunday. Indeed, this matter had always been in her mind. If she hadn't lived with Mr. Wan for so many years and understood his character, she would have given up on this relationship long ago, and there would be no happy event today. However, it would be a lie to say that she had no doubts at all. After all, the woman's demonstration when she met her before was clear, and due to a woman's intuition, she could feel the hostility of the woman named Sun towards her. Why are you hostile to her? If it wasn't for Mr. Wan beating him to death, she wouldn't believe it. Several times, she wanted to ask Mr. Wan what was going on between him and that woman. But every time the words came to her lips, she couldn't ask. At this age, she is not young. It is really embarrassing to ask such a question. However, if she doesn't ask, she is very upset. Even today, during the process, this matter will flash through her mind from time to time. Thing. It can be said that this matter is the only uncertainty mixed with her joy. People are like this. Originally, she really wanted to know the reason. Now that Mr. Wan himself has brought it up and wants to explain it, she starts to regret it again. Is she too obvious? She wanted to tell the other party that she didn't need to explain, but she didn't think it was appropriate. She wanted to explain, but she didn't think it was appropriate either, she was so entangled. As a result, before she could come up with a solution, Mr. Wan had already spoken. Xiao Sun and I met. One morning when I went out for a run, her ex-husband went to find her. He pushed her to the ground and beat her, but I saved her. At that time, her head was knocked to the point of bleeding. After her husband left, she sat on the ground motionless. I was afraid that something might happen to her, so I asked where her home was and wanted to notify her family. As a result, she told me that she lived on her own and that her family had not allowed her to go home since she divorced her husband. They said they thought she was embarrassed and had divorced her. Naturally, her husband's family would not tolerate her, so she could only live alone. That day her husband went to find her and lost all his money. He asked her for money. When she said she didn't have any, her husband pushed her to the ground and beat her. She said that she was used to living like this. Although the two were divorced. But such days did not end with divorce. She also complained, but as soon as the Women's Federation people came to talk to her husband came to her to make amends. Too many times. People from the Women's Federation were also annoyed, and she herself discovered that if she wanted to feel better, it was best not to file a lawsuit anywhere, otherwise, her ex-husband would only double his abuse of her. When she talked about this at that time, I thought of you, Xiao Yin. Although your family did not refuse you to return to your parents' home, but, I'm not close to you either, come to think of it. She is more pitiful than you, so I feel sympathy for her. Every time we meet in the future, she would say hello and occasionally say a few words. When she encountered something she couldn't solve, she would come to me for help. Because I had promised her before that she could ask me for help when she had difficulties, I didn't think much about it. It wasn't until Brother Zhao told me later that Xiao Sun's attitude might be wrong that I took it seriously. Then I slowly discovered that Xia Sun seemed to have found out that I was single and had some thoughts. Of course, I would not be pretentious and think that she fell in love with me. For her, a stable supporter that allows her to live a more comfortable life is what she looks forward to most, and I just meet her requirements. To be honest, when I understood her thoughts, I felt quite uncomfortable. In terms of age, she is almost the same as Yukian. In my heart, I always regarded her as a junior, but I didn't expect that she misunderstood that she was a junior. So, however, thinking about the suffering she had suffered before, it would be too hurtful for me to talk about it abruptly, so I thought about how I could really help her without letting her misunderstand. 2 days ago, I settled her work and took this opportunity to tell her about my getting married, and made it clear that I had always treated her as my daughter. When I really said that, she looked very confused and asked me if I already knew what she was thinking. I didn't pretend to be confused, so I told her that I really didn't know at first, but later I really knew. However, I think it is fate for people to become friends when they meet each other. There is no need to act like enemies just because of this misunderstanding and never interact with each other until death. I also told her about my relationship with Xiao Yin, and told her clearly that I would either never marry in this life, or I would definitely marry Xiao Yin. She also promised me that she would not do any unnecessary things in the future. Speaking of it, she is quite pitiful. Old Mrs. Zhao spoke first. I won't hide it from you. Originally, I was quite complaining about you. I felt that I was still uneasy at such an old age. Well, what the hell? You apologize, I'm sorry. Mr. Zhao glared at her. I told you before that there is nothing wrong between Wan Lao and that woman. If you don't believe me, now you know you were wrong, right? Put it down. Old Mrs. Zhao shrugged her nose dissatisfied. Don't forget how ambiguous and vague you were when you explained to me. I have spent a lifetime with you and I still don't know. What is your temper? If you were really sure that I was wrongly accusing someone, what would be your attitude? If we really pursue the case, it is definitely your fault. If it weren't for your unclear attitude, I wouldn't have imagined it. And Xia. The old lady looked at Chu Xia. Xia, are you also because of your grandfather's attitude? What do you think? I'm a little overthinking, but I don't doubt Mr. Wan. Chu Xia quickly looked at Mr. Wan and explained, I felt something was wrong between you and that aunt, but I really didn't think of you as a philanderer. Mr. Wan has a black line on his end. My god-granddaughter, do you believe me or not? Why are you so sexually obsessed? Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou had stopped laughing a long time ago. To be honest, they didn't know about this. But now after hearing what Mr. Wan said and looking at everyone's attitudes, they understood that they were inseparable. Listening to their granddaughter-in-law's unintentional remark, the old couple almost burst out laughing. When had they ever seen an old man so deflated? Zhou Jingping and Lin Yangqiu are juniors. They are embarrassed to smile so openly, so they can only try hard not to let the corners of their mouths twitch too much. Let me tell you, you are unreliable. Mr. Chi did not laugh, and began to educate Mr. Wan again. You can save someone from such a thing, and speaking of it, it is still your fault. If you hadn't shown too much concern, would people have misunderstood you and wanted to marry into your family? Let me tell you, just because of you, Sister Yin is very sad. Seeing you explain this matter now, you still sound aggrieved. In fact, the one who is most aggrieved is Sister Yin. Okay. If you put this aside for ordinary people, they would have ignored you for a long time. Yes, that's true. MRSG immediately agreed, I can testify to this. Just because you didn't handle this matter well, Sister Yin secretly cried many times at night, and even thought about leaving the capital. Fortunately, you have this child Shuxia, otherwise, you would still be marrying a wife now. Just dream. Wan Yuqian felt a little distressed when she saw her father being denounced, but it was difficult to interrupt. After all, she didn't understand this matter. Although it sounded like her father was right, as a woman, from her own perspective, her father was also wrong. It's right to help others, but if you let the other person get involved, you can't say that there is nothing wrong with it. As a woman, she hopes that the man she likes only has eyes for her, and the only one who sincerely helps is herself, the more so. The more she thought about it, the more entangled she felt, and her desire to help her father fade away. As juniors, Qianyan and Qiandikan had no time to interrupt, so for a while, the room became quiet. Mr. Wan couldn't help but smile bitterly. I had already thought that it would be like this, otherwise I would have explained it to everyone a long time ago. Indeed, when I did this, I didn't have a good grasp of the rules, but with the conscience of heaven and earth, she didn't have any evil thoughts at all, and it was really because she thought her experience was similar to Xiao Yin's that I helped her. I know. Sister-in-law Yin answered quickly, I admit that I have hesitated and doubted before. This is all my fault, which shows that I still don't trust you 100%. I promise that I will never have such random suspicions again. If I have any questions, I will ask them face to face. Of course, I also hope that both of us can communicate with each other about everything. In this way, many conflicts can be avoided. Of production. This is what it should be, Mr. Wan said seriously. Actually, I have thought of such a situation for a long time, but I still choose this time to speak out about it, just to let everyone be a witness. It also makes you feel more at ease. Don't worry, I will become a married person in the future, and I will have to pay more attention to what I do. However, at this age, the chance of this should be extremely small, haha. He was embarrassed when he said it later. Laughed. Chu Xia quietly poked Jian Yan, and when the other party looked over, she whispered, you will be the representative, make a toast, and I will follow. Okay, Jian Yan quickly stood up and broke the deadlock. At this time, not far outside Wanjia's door, a middle-aged woman was looking in with a sad face. The big red words happy on the door and the window made her eyes hurt. It's not that she didn't work hard, it's not that she didn't fight for it, but the result was not what she wanted. Probably, this was her fate. With a sigh, she turned around and staggered away. Fortunately, she has a stable job and a stable place to live, and her ex-husband doesn't dare to come to her again. So, her life is much better than before. But why do I still feel so uncomfortable? To be continued. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 934. 1 Update. Because of the age of Wan Lao and Sister Yin, having a wedding ceremony was just a formality, and the juniors were too embarrassed to really bother them, so they simply explained what they were saying, and before 9:30, everyone went back to their homes. After Wan Yuqiang and Niang Niang sent everyone away, they each hid in their rooms. In an instant, the couple was left alone in the new house. Although they had lived together for so many years, the sudden change in status still made the two of them a little uncomfortable. Sister-in-law Yin sat on the bedside, twisting her clothes awkwardly. Mr. Wan wanted to say something to break the deadlock, but for a while he couldn't find a suitable topic, so he sat there stiffly. If it were in the past, Ms. Yin would have reminded Mr. Wan that it was time to rest at this time, but in this special situation today, she was absolutely embarrassed to remind him, but she didn't remind him, and she was a little worried about the old man's health, so she looked up from time to time. Clock on the wall. Haha. Noticing sister-in-law Yin's movements, Mr. Wan scratched his head and laughed. Miwen, you have been busy for a day and you are tired. Let's rest early. Yes, sister-in-law Yin responded, blushing to the root of her neck. She herself felt that her performance was a bit exaggerated, but she couldn't control herself at all, or maybe this was the difference between liking and not liking. After washing up, Ms. Yin finally calmed down. She found new pajamas from the cupboard and handed them to the old man. Go take a shower first. I've already put the water for you. The old man nodded, hesitated, and then picked up his pajamas and went to the bathroom. Ms. Yin breathed a sigh of relief. She was so old. It's really embarrassing to act like this. But for her, this is marriage in the true sense. Sitting here now, her heart was beating like a drum. Of course, there is another reason why she behaves like this. Although she is not too young, she really doesn't know much about men in certain aspects. She now thinks that they should sleep in the same bed. I'm afraid that the old man will be in trouble. Different beds, it seems a bit pretentious. Mr. Wan, who was in the bathroom, was not at peace. His wife had been gone for more than 10 years. He never thought that one day he would get married again. Originally, he didn't want to marry an emotionless woman, just to be taken care of. Later, when I get older, I don't even care about it anymore. Marrying Ms. Yin is not so much about love. Rather, it was for Sister Yin's future. For him, at this age, it didn't matter whether he got married or not. But if he didn't marry Ms. Yin home and always let her stay by his side to take care of her, it would inevitably lead to gossip. If something happens to him one day, Ms. Yin will not even have a place to stay. Certainly. He believed that the organization would make proper arrangements for Sister Yin. But he had been with the other party for so many years, but in the end he had to ask the organization to help him. He couldn't take it calmly. In fact, no matter who does the resettlement, the final life will be similar, but I believe that from a psychological perspective, Ms. Yin hopes that he will do this. That's why he made up his mind to marry again. However, it was only at this moment that he realized that he had not truly overcome the hurdle in his heart. In his heart, no one could replace his old wife. Coming out of the bathroom, Ms. Yin had already slept on her side. Mr. Wan breathed a sigh of relief, turned off the light, and lay down on the other side of the bed. Wan Lang. Whispering Mr. Wan's name, Ms. Yin turned around. At this moment, she thought a lot. After the old man lay down, she could feel the stiffness of his body. If he stayed like this all night rest, the two of them must be in particularly bad condition the next morning, so she simply wanted to make things clear. Huh, Mr. Wan responded softly, stood up, and half leaned on the bed. Sister-in-law Yin also sat up, turned on the bedside lamp and looked at the man who had become her husband. When she really wanted to speak, she didn't know how to express it, so the two of them froze there again. After a moment, Mr. Wan reached out and patted Sister Yin. Miwen, don't think too much, I just need some time. It's not because I have any problem with you, but because of Yukiang's mother. I understand. Sister-in-law Yin let out a long sigh. Really speaking, my first marriage was not happy, so I don't have much nostalgia for the past. And I have refused to remarry all these years, and I don't want to fall into that situation again. Instead of two people dragging each other down, it is better for one person to live freely and easily. However, because I have had a very relaxed life these years living by your side, I gradually developed feelings and wanted to truly be with you. If I make you feel embarrassed, it doesn't matter. Whether we are separated or living apart, I will not blame you. After a pause, she smiled bitterly. At least I like a dedicated man, which shows that I still have vision. Don't worry too much. I definitely have no regrets about marrying you. At this age, I wouldn't have made such a decision if it hadn't been for careful consideration. I just need some time to adapt. After all, we have had a fixed pattern of getting along in the past few years. If there is a sudden change, I need an adjustment process. After a slight hesitation, Mr. Wan looked at sister-in-law Yin apologetically. It's all my fault. I should have explained to you the opportunity to choose before. Even if you can't accept it, we can only do this for the time being. Otherwise, the two of us will look like this. There's no place to put it, right? I can't accept it. After hearing Mr. Wan explain the reason, the pressure in Sister Yin's heart finally dissipated little by little. I was worried that you were with me because you had to take responsibility because of your previous promise. Mr. Wan interrupted her with a wry smile. Do you still doubt my relationship with Xiao Sun? No, no, sister-in-law Yin waved her hands repeatedly. You have made it so clear. If I still doubt this, I would be really stupid. To be honest, when we were alone just now, I felt special embarrassing. As you know, I have been single for too many years, and it is really difficult for me to step into the role of a wife. As for the partiality, you have shown that it is difficult to assume the role of husband all of a sudden. I will inevitably have random thoughts, and then I am afraid that it will affect the relationship between you and your daughter because of me. After taking care of you for the past few years, I am particularly aware of your entanglement of love and hate for Yukian. Now that you have let go of hatred, only love is left. I didn't feel it before I got married. Now, there is a feeling that I am the only outsider in this family. At such an old age, it's a bit pretentious to say such things, but that's what I really think. Wan Lang, why don't we make an agreement first, and if Yukian objects to us being together, we will separate. Don't worry, if we really separate, I will not give up on myself. I will ask the organization to readjust my work. At my current age, it is not suitable to go to a factory, so I will go to a nursing home or something like that. When I get older, I can just stay in it. In this way, you don't have to worry about me, whether it's my current life or my future life. I've said so much, why are you still struggling with this? Mr. Wan looked at her helplessly. We have lived together for a few years. Do you think I am the kind of person you want me to be? How many times do you want me to explain to you that my current dilemma is just that it is difficult to let go of my guilt for Yukiang's mother and quickly enter a new role? In fact, I believe that our marriage is what Yukiang's mother wants to see most. When she left that year, she told me that I must find someone I can get along with to live together. The last thing she wanted to see was for me to die alone. Although Yukiang and Yanyandakan are back now, they still have to have their own lives after all, especially Yukiang, who is only at this age, and it is really inappropriate to be alone for the rest of her life. But based on what happened between her and Qianji Unming, and her temperament, if I don't get married, she might really be able to spend her money like this. Then when I leave one day, she will want to make changes, but she really can't. It's too late. Of course, when I tell you this, I don't mean that I married you for my daughter. I just want to tell you that no matter what aspect, I have no last resort for us to be together. It's just that people are emotional animals, and my relationship with Yukiang's mother is not bad, so I will act a little inappropriate for a while. Don't worry, as long as we live together like this for a while, I will naturally adapt to it. You and will definitely get used to it. Okay, I understand. Sister-in-law Yang couldn't help laughing. What you explained is really incoherent. Fortunately, I have lived with you for several years and understand your character. Otherwise, it would be really incoherent. Let your words go down the drain, if you don't believe what you said just now. Mr. Wan smiled coquettishly. At this age, I have never explained this matter to anyone. However, fundamentally speaking, the communication between us is not enough. Yes, sister-in-law Yin nodded. To put it bluntly, these misunderstandings are that you are doubting me and I am doubting you. However, we both know each other's character, so these doubts become more entangled. Just say it, go to sleep. Mr. Wan reached out and patted Sister Yin. Don't think so wildly, I'm not guarding Yukiang's mother, give me some time. Sister-in-law Yin interrupted him with a blushing face. Okay, don't explain, I understand. I don't insist on doing anything to you, I just want to communicate with you. Who made you lie there as stiff as a piece of iron just now? Same thing, if you are really so stiff all night, do I have to take you to the hospital tomorrow? That would be really embarrassing. You. Mr. Wan looked at sister-in-law Yin with a dark look. After living together for so many years, why didn't he realize that she had such a fierce side? However, this kind of performance made him really feel like a couple. To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 935. Second update. Top point novel. After returning from Wan's home, I lay on the bed after taking a shower. I was still so excited in early summer that I didn't feel sleepy at all. I leaned on my teacher's body and chatted away. By the way. Suddenly, she looked at Master Tongzi with bright eyes. Do you think Master and I would be a little envious when they see Wan Lao start a family? Stop. Commander Tongzi looked at her helplessly. Don't tell me that you want to turn into a matchmaker to find their other half. If it was really possible, they wouldn't delay it until now. Moreover, don't you think it would be nice for Mr. Chi and Aunt Chi to live together? Brothers and sisters understand each other best, and their relationship is definitely better than that of an ordinary couple. If they really find each other, it may not be a good thing for them. Do you think the partners they find now will be better than each other? It's a bit difficult. Chu Xia sighed. Actually, I just think that not getting married for the rest of your life is a shocking thing. Especially, I have noticed the look on Aunt Chi's face. She is very fond of Sister Yin. Somewhat envious. That kind of envy should be envy that Sister Yin has found the right person. If possible, I believe everyone would not want to find the right partner, but what you want to think about is, what are the chances that they will find the right partner now? What are the chances that both brothers and sisters will find their significant other at the same time? I wanted to invite Mr. Yun and Mrs. Yun to come here today, but I gave up the idea later. In fact, I just didn't want to offend Master and Aunt Chi. Chu Xia said with a bitter look on her face. I believe that they must have some regrets in their hearts. Shocking. This is inevitable. However, compared to many people, they are also happy. Zhou Mikang smiled and kissed his wife lightly on the forehead. You should carefully consider what I said before. Is this true? Yes. Chu Xia lay on top of him and smiled sheepishly. I'm just too lazy to worry about things. If Master knew that I was thinking about this, he would definitely kick me away. That's not true, but he will definitely regret accepting you as his apprentice. You have disturbed his peaceful life. Do you think he is depressed or not? I'm just telling you, actually. I didn't plan to be a matchmaker myself from the beginning. I just suddenly thought that one day they might meet a suitable partner and feel very happy. Don't worry, they are quite happy now. How many pairs of brothers and sisters in this world can be like them? Think about it for a while. Chu Xia nodded. That's true. There are many good relationships between husband and wife. There are also many brothers and sisters who have good relationships. However, there are definitely only a handful of brothers and sisters like them. In other words, this kind of happiness comes from other people. It's elusive. Only when the right time, place, and people are in place can this possibility arise. So, aren't they the luckiest brother and sister? It's hard to say whether you are the luckiest. But in this era, being like them is not a bad thing at least. Joe Mikang looked at his little wife seriously. After I leave, take a good rest, don't worry about it anymore, you know. I know. Chu Xia pouted dissatisfiedly. It sounds like I'm so ignorant. I just happened to think of this problem on a day like today. Normally, I wouldn't think about it blindly. Moreover, I am not going against you. I know that everyone is worried about me. For my own good, they hope that I can stay at home to take care of myself. However, think about my age and let me stay in bed every day. Are you going crazy at home? Master also said that there is nothing wrong with my health. Anyway, class is not a tiring thing for me. If you are still worried, just think of those people who were still working in the fields when they gave birth to children. Aren't you still doing well? Can you compare with them? Joe Mikang looked at his little wife speechlessly. With a small body like yours, don't always think of unreliable things. Okay, you don't need to explain anymore, I promise you. But you also have to promise me that if you feel tired from eating, you will stop showing off. You can also see that although Mom and Grandma didn't say anything, they were quite worried about you. I know, I know. Chu Xia nodded repeatedly. I'm not ignorant. If something unexpected happens, even if they don't blame me, I won't be ashamed. Moreover, for the sake of my parents, I must be careful. You can go to work with peace of mind. I will report my physical condition to you every day when I call you. Also, there are so many medical authorities around me. They all said that if I move more and feel better, there are only benefits and no harm. What do you have to worry about, right? Alas. Joe Mixang sighed. The truth is clear, but I just can't control my random thoughts. You should understand this feeling. I understand, and I'm very happy. Chu Xia looked at him with a smile. If I didn't care from the bottom of my heart, I wouldn't worry blindly. How could I not understand? You. Joe Mikang looked at his little wife helplessly. He had really experienced the feeling of helplessness. Who did he care about before? Early the next morning, Joe Mixang returned to City A. Mr. Joe, Mrs. Joe and his wife Joe Jingping also left together. Yu Tao and Wang Lei were about to give birth. Mr. Zhao, Mrs. Zhao, Zhao Yulan, and Lin Baohe were here, and they had nothing to do. Don't worry. After seeing off everyone, Chu Xia went to the school accompanied by Zhao Yulan. These days, the teacher Tongzi was here, but Lin Mengran, Li Xinlai and others did not come over. They didn't know that the teacher Tongzi left today, so naturally no one would come to accompany them. She went to school together. Mom, please go back, I can go in alone. When she arrived at the school gate, Chu Xia stopped and said, it's not like you don't know that Joe Mikang has arranged for someone to protect me secretly. Don't worry, in fact, even if you don't send me off, there won't be any danger. Do you think your mother will be embarrassed by you? Zhao Yulan glared at her daughter dissatisfied. Even if someone is protecting you, they are not by your side. How can you let your mother feel relieved? Mom. Chu Xia took Zhao Yulan's arm and acted coquettishly. I have really become a celebrity in school. There were various rumors before. In the past few days, because Joe Mikang accompanied me to school, the rumors that I got pregnant out of wedlock have finally come to an end. It's a little lighter. However, some people still suspect that Joe Mikang is my bastard. If you continue to accompany me to school every day, the discussion that has finally subsided will definitely rise again. Zhao Yulan looked at her daughter with a puzzled look on her face. if I go with you, what does it have to do with getting pregnant out of wedlock? Because of jealousy. Chu Xia spread her hands. Mom, you should know that jealousy will make many people do unreasonable things. I don't care what they say, I just think it's best for you to let I need to be more independent. After all, I am also going to be a mother. If I am always protected like this, it seems that I am too inferior. How can I hold my head up in front of my children in the future? Although her daughter's words were a bit unreasonable, there was a certain truth to them. Zhao Yulan knew the woman's jealousy, so she gave up on following her in. As a result, before she could speak, Sang Qin and Zhao Mian came over and said, "Auntie, okay," they both greeted. "Hello." When Zhao Yulan saw them in the hospital, she quickly responded with a smile. "Auntie, the teacher has just informed us that from now on, except when my sister-in-law is at home, we must take care of her at all times. We are responsible for my sister-in-law's safety, so don't worry," Sang Qin said. "I'm sorry to bother you. It's really troublesome for you." Zhao Yulan breathed a sigh of relief. Although she wasn't worried before, it would be best to have someone to protect her daughter. Chu Xia had a grimace on her face. The bastard teacher Tongzi had promised her freedom last night and only asked Sang Qin and Zhao Mian to protect her secretly. Unexpectedly, he regretted it in the blink of an eye. In fact, the teacher Zongzi can't really be blamed for this. If he hadn't just seen a woman who was about to give birth on the road and her husband was carrying her to the hospital, he wouldn't have been so frightened that he quickly called Sang Qin and Zhao Mian to inform Sang Qin and Zhao Mian that they were coming back. On the way, I was laughed at by several elders. After all, Chu Xia was still more than 2 months away from giving birth. Sister-in-law, we are all classmates. When we are with you, others won't think much about it. Sang Qin saw the depression in Chu Xia's heart and quickly explained, when you are with a few good classmates, we will feel conscious in the eyes of outsiders. The two of us are classmates who get along well with my sister-in-law, but we are a little worse than Lin Mengran and the others. Don't worry, sister-in-law, we will definitely not cause gossip to her. Okay. Chu Xia sighed. Actually, I just hope that I don't become the focus of the campus. No matter how hard I try, in the eyes of others, I am just the lucky type. We can all see your sister-in-law's efforts and admire them very much. If nothing else, your test scores are real. Why are everyone talking nonsense? Isn't it because they are jealous of my sister-in-law's results? Let's just talk about the two of us. After being sent here, we also put in 120% of our efforts, but what was the result? Sang Qin spread his hands and said, every time I take the exam, I still wander around in the wrong position. Alas. You're not talking about this business. Chu Xia smiled at the two of them. Okay, I must admit, your comfort makes me feel better. Sister-in-law, have you ever thought about what you will do in the future? Sang Qin asked curiously. Of course I want to be a doctor. Otherwise, what kind of school did I come here to study? What kind of teacher did I study under? Do you really want to be a doctor? Sang Qin's eyes widened. Did master agree? Of course. Chu Xia nodded. You don't always think that I come to school just to put money on my face, right? If that's the case, wouldn't Elder Yuan and Elder Qi strangle me to death? He. The two of them laughed sarcastically. To be honest, they really ignored this point. They always thought that the sister-in-law just wanted to increase some capital for herself. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 936. 1 update. I'm also curious about something. Chu Xia looked at Sang Qin and Zhao Mian in confusion. Did you get admitted to the school by yourself, or, through some other method, although it was a bit impolite to ask this, but she was really curious. Of course we passed the exam ourselves. Sang Chin looked at Chu Xia seriously. Sister-in-law, I must solemnly report this to you. Our scores are all real. I believe the division commander has also told you that our elders all work in the Zhou family. Coming to work in the army was also arranged by the elders at home, and this was tacitly approved. That's why we were placed in this position by our division commander. To be honest with you, everyone is envious of the task we have been given. From the time you decided to enter DAXI, the teacher selected a few of us with good marks in chemical studies to take the exam. In the end, 4 of us were admitted, and the other 6 who failed to pass the exam had to be eliminated. I really don't know about this. Chu Xia rolled her eyes and looked at the 2 of them. This feeling is basically like being forced to accompany me to study. Do you really have no complaints at all? I believe that in many aspects, you are better than me, and in terms of age, I am even older than you, so I really can't imagine how you feel about me. Zhou Mikang had never had any experience with her about this matter, so hearing Sang Chin say this made her feel a little novel. After thinking about it carefully, she became a little confused, so she asked the question truthfully. We are members of the Zhou family, and it is our duty to serve the Zhou family. Even after the changes of the times, some things will not change. To put it more bluntly, if our elders had not been favored by the Zhou family, it is impossible to survive, so we are willing to accept any arrangement. Moreover, during the time we have been in contact with you, we admire you from the bottom of our hearts. What you are inferior to us is probably your skills. Such expertise is nothing compared to your talent in medicine. As for the reason why we asked you if you plan to be a doctor just now, Sang Chin smiled sheepishly. It was because of Mian and I's private curiosity. We don't know the teacher very well, but we know a little more than the average person. With the character of the teacher, we can't hope that your life will be so busy in the future, right? Well, we have already communicated. Chu Xia smiled at the 2 of them. I know that in the eyes of all of you, everything I have is because of Zhou Mixang. So, I hope that one day, I will truly become a perfect person in your eyes, someone who can help Zhou Mikang instead of dragging him down. No, Sang Chin looked panicked and hurriedly explained, Sister-in-law, we didn't mean that. I just said that your talent in medicine is definitely unmatched by ordinary people. Forget it, I won't explain to you anymore. Chu Xia looked at her helplessly. If we get along with each other for a while, you will know what my personality is, and I probably won't be like this anymore. Sister-in-law. Zhao Mian, who had been silent all this time, looked at her sheepishly. Actually, after following you these days, we know your character quite well, but, when you are anxious, you just talk nonsense. In general, we get along less and understand each other less. Chu Xia smiled at the 2 of them. Don't worry, I'm not that difficult to get along with, and I don't have that many messy problems. No matter what Zhou Mikang has told you, I hope that we can get along with each other in a way that makes both parties comfortable. I am a child who grew up in an ordinary family, and I don't like the feeling of hierarchy. If possible, I hope we can become true friends. If there is anything embarrassing, just tell me. I will definitely cooperate within my ability. The 2 looked at each other and breathed a long sigh of relief unconsciously. Sang Chin took the lead again. Thank you, sister-in-law, we listen to you. Zhao Mian also said, yes, sister-in-law, we listen to you. Chu Xia glanced at the time on her wrist and walked faster. It's getting late, let's go to the classroom. Slow down. Zhao Mian hurriedly held her arm. You are a twin now. You must pay attention to safety. You must pay attention to safety. I know. Chu Xia looked at her helplessly. I just sped up a little bit, but I didn't start running or jumping. Besides, pregnant women are not that delicate. If you are like this, I won't let you. I'm following you around. Haven't the people who dislike the school talked about me enough? It's okay, in the eyes of outsiders, it's us walking arm in arm with you. Sang Chin smiled while holding Chu Xia's other arm. Why do I feel that in the eyes of outsiders, you seem to be escorting criminals? Zhao Mian sank in. From a distance, Yuan Hui walked over and saw Chu Xia, who was tightly fixed in the middle. A smile appeared on her lips unconsciously. When she got closer, she smiled and joked, "Young Lady Zhou, how are you?" Sister Hui, why? Chu Xia looked surprised when she saw the person coming. When did you come here? Yesterday, I came over for training. I may stay here for a few days, so I'm not in a hurry to disturb you. Yuan Hui looked at the time and waved to her, "I'm going to be too late. I'll come back to you in the evening." Originally, she wanted to ask how her eldest brother was doing, but seeing how anxious she was, Chu Xia had no choice but to give up and wave to her, "Go, go, remember to go to my house for dinner tonight. I will tell the teacher and teacher's wife later." "Okay." Yuan Hui responded while turning back and smiling at her, "How many masters do you have now?" "Let me ask again, your teacher and master's wife just now are my parents, right?" "I hate it." Chu Xia glared at her, "Mr. Qi is not married. If you say that again, I will go find him and complain." "I was wrong, I was wrong." Yuan Hui apologized and ran away quickly. Her explanation came from a distance, "It's really too late. I won't be with you anymore." "Sister-in-law, you are so popular." Sang Chin looked at Chu Xia enviously, "It feels like everyone who is close to you is very sincere to you. Unlike us, we have no friends except those we grew up with. Our situations are different." After thinking about it, Chu Xia looked at the two of them seriously, "If you want to live a normal life, I can say hello to Zhou Mikang." Don't want to." The two of them rejected Chu Xia's proposal without thinking. Although they envied Chu Xia's good popularity, they still couldn't accept it if they gave up the direction they had already set. Halfway along the way, people met Lin Mengran and Li Xinlai, who were wandering over. When they saw Chu Xia, their pace obviously accelerated. "Where is Mr. Master?" Lin Mengran asked as they came closer. "He went back today." Chu Xia pointed to Sang Chin and Zhao Mian beside her, "They will join our group in the future. Let me formally introduce Sang Chin and Zhao Mian." "Pull her down." Lin Mengran rolled her eyes, "We have known them for a long time, do you need to be so serious about it?" He stretched out his hand to the two of them, "Lin Mengran, she is Li Xinlai." Sang Chin and Zhao Mian shook hands with her with black hair. They had just returned the favor and they had known each other for a long time. They even introduced themselves solemnly. These friends of the teacher's wife were really interesting. "Why is Xinlai so low-spirited?" Looking at Li Xinlai, who had thick dark circles under her eyes, Chu Xia looked puzzled. "Is it because your roommate in the dormitory bullied you again?" "They don't dare." Li Xinlai said with a wry smile, "After what happened last time, they don't dare to bully me anymore. Yesterday my sister came and my mother ran away with her. I didn't sleep all night." "Who did your mother run away with?" Chu Xia was speechless. How old she was, but she still ran away with someone. This was a strange thing. "I don't know." Li Xinlai shook her head, "My sister didn't understand it either. Anyway, my mother left her a letter asking her to take good care of herself, and also left her 5 yuan. It's not easy to remember to keep 5 yuan. Lin Mengran snorted and said, "If you want me, her sister doesn't have to worry about it, but she can't listen and is always worried about her sister. Is she a bitch? I don't want to care about her, but she is my sister. If I don't care about her, she will go to my dad. My dad's life has finally turned around. What if my sister gets in the way again?" Li Xinlai's father had an affair with a female worker in the factory some time ago, and she was also divorced. The man he met before was a gambler, and the family lost everything, so they divorced. The woman brought a 10-year-old boy with her, and she was relatively close to Lee Xinlai's father. Lee's father came to seek his daughter's opinion, and the matter was settled. The wedding was originally scheduled for the 9th day of next month. Chu Xia knew about it. Therefore, she could also understand Lee Xinlai's mood. As a filial and soft-hearted child, it was understandable that she would worry about Lee Xinlan. But Chu Xia looked at Lee Xinlai. What are you going to do? I should try to save as much of my monthly allowance as possible to give to my sister. Yesterday I persuaded her to move to the factory. That's all I can do, and she agreed. But after hesitating, Lee Xinlai said, she wants me to ask Zhangbo to help her move. I am hesitating. Zhangbo's mother is not satisfied with my family's situation. If I ask Zhangbo to move for my sister again, she will definitely even more unhappy. Ahem. Lin Mengran cleared her throat and said coolly, my sister didn't want to move. I overthought her and even gave her a lot of prescriptions. Chu Xia, now do you think that her sister really just asked her to ask Zhangbo for help because she couldn't find anyone to move? R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 937. Second update. Lee Xinlai and Zhang Ji established their relationship 2.5 months ago. It was only after establishing a relationship that Lee Xinlai learned that Zhang Ji's family background was actually very good. His parents were both leading cotters, and he also had a sister who was already married to a well-matched family. If she had originally known that Zhang Ji's family background was like this, Lee Xinlai probably wouldn't have had the courage to express her feelings to him. She only found out about the other person's family background after they had been dating for a month and when Zhang Ji took her to meet her parents. It was too late to regret it at that time, so she could only bite the bullet. Zhang Ji's parents were quite satisfied with her, but they didn't like her family very much. They also told her clearly that if she wanted to be with Zhang Ji, it was best not to let her family use the Zhang family as a safe haven. To put it bluntly, she just didn't want her family to trouble the Zhang family to help solve the problem. In fact, even if the other party said this without knowing it, she would not do it. She knew better than anyone who her mother and sister were, so she would not interfere with their affairs. My father is a skilled and honest man. He is destined to never change jobs in this life. He has no competitive spirit. With his technical strength and Chu Xia's help, no one will target him at all. Therefore, the possibility of her father Li Aguo asking for help from the Zhang family is basically zero. As for herself, after graduation, she does not need anyone else to worry about her work issues. If Jiang's mother had made it clear in the past, she might have only listened submissively, but after meeting Chu Xia, she became much more confident, even though she knew that her family background was a weakness. But she doesn't think she is inferior to Zhang Ji. Therefore, after the other party made it clear, she made it clear. The Li family would definitely not cause trouble to the Zhang family. I didn't expect that. Before she could even talk about it, something happened to her mother, and her sister begged her to come over. The key point is that her sister knew where Zhang Ji worked and said that if it was inconvenient for her to leave school, she would go find Zhang Ji by herself. In fact, if she really believed that her sister had no evil intentions, she didn't even believe it herself. However, the other party was her sister. Even though she was as close as sisters to Lin Mengran and the others, she was embarrassed to tell the truth. As for her sister knowing about her and Zhang Ji, it was also a coincidence. After she and Zhang Ji came out of Jiang's house that day, she was in a bad mood. After all, her current conditions are not bad. Although she was the first to clarify her relationship with Zhang Ji, she also said it. If Zhang Ji doesn't like her, just pretend she didn't say it. Zhang Ji clearly told her that he had liked her for a long time, but he just saw that she was admitted to college and felt that he was not worthy of her, so he did not take action to clarify the relationship. Now that she can take this step, he is very happy and touched. He said that he would treat her well in this life. Moreover, Zhang didn't mention her family background at that time, so she took it for granted that he was the son of an ordinary working-class family. I also really feel that my conditions are worthy of the other person. Until it was time to go to the Zhang family. Zhang Jike clearly told her about his parents' positions and also gave her a vaccination, telling her not to mind if his parents were not enthusiastic enough. This result was something she didn't expect. In an instant, she planned to retreat. It was Zhang Ji who saw her intention to retreat and held her tight, and made her a promise for a long time before she made up her mind to go to Zhang Ji home. Unexpectedly, the cold reception she received made her more uncomfortable than she imagined. The cold reception given to her by Jiang's father and Jiang's mother was not that of a small citizen. You can't fault the two people's hospitality, but in terms of words, the repulsion in the words makes it clear to you. Later, he simply made it clear that the Zhang family has never been a backdoor person, and he hoped that if he found his in-laws, he would not break the rules of the Zhang family. Of course she felt uncomfortable, and she expressed her stance because she had already promised Zhang Ji and she had to keep it. Therefore, as soon as she walked out of Jiang's house, her face dropped. She was not someone who couldn't take things into her own hands. What she was angry about was that Zhang Ji didn't tell her the truth. What he said was that his parents' attitude might be a little more polite. But in fact, how can that be a little polite? Basically, you are polite in front, but not polite at all in the back. Zhang Ji chased her all the way to persuade her, and then met Li Xinlan. After all, she was her biological sister, so she couldn't pretend not to know her when she met her, so she had no choice but to stop and say hello. Then, Li Xinlan's eyes were so powerful that he could tell at a glance that she and Zhang Ji had an unusual relationship. He immediately started to inquire about her, but before she could say anything, Zhang Ji took the initiative to reveal their relationship. She understood that the reason why Zhang Ji did that was to show her his attitude and his insistence on being with her. She was not unreasonable. Zhang Ji said so she had no choice but to cooperate. Down. She remembered clearly that Li Xinlan looked at her and Zhang Ji with contempt. After all, in the eyes of her sister Li Xinlan, a little postman was not worth marrying. She didn't bother to explain, so she said goodbye to Li Xinlan and left. However, what he didn't expect was that in order to get her parents to accept her earlier, Zhang Ji went to her mother's workplace to plead for mercy, and she happened to be met by Li Xinlan, who naturally let Li Xinlan know his identity. Jiang's mother was where Li Xinlan was. The factory union chairman. Zhang Ji told her this, and Li Xinlan didn't even mention it in front of her. Zhang Ji also told her that Li Xinlan would go to the post office to look for him no matter what happened, causing many people to mistakenly think she was his girlfriend. He had no choice but to explain it to everyone one by one, so that his colleagues in the unit understood the truth. And she knew what Zhang Ji meant when he told her, simply because he didn't want her to misunderstand one day because of Li Xinlan's actions. This time Li Xinlan came to her to cry about her mother, but she still didn't mention a word about going to Zhang Ji. After she finished crying, she asked her to let Zhang Ji help her move. In fact, she knew without asking that Li Xinlan must have asked Zhang Ji for help. Zhang Ji didn't come forward, so Li Xinlan came to her specifically. Now, she must be using chicken feathers as arrows, saying that she has agreed, and forcing Zhang Ji to help. In fact, she hesitated to tell Lin Mengran the truth, but when the words came to her lips, she swallowed them back. She knew Lin Mengran's character very well. She was a big firecracker. If she had told her, the other party would definitely go to Li Xinlan immediately. Then, she also knew her sister's character. She should be someone who is not afraid of big things. In the end, Zhang Ji and her were probably the most affected. But it was hard for her to tell Lin Mengran openly. It would be bad if the boss misunderstood her good intentions and mistook her for being a donkey. When she met Chu Xia, she breathed a sigh of relief. She wanted to hear Chu Xia's opinion. After all, in her opinion, Chu Xia was the most thoughtful and least extreme among them. Chu Xia saw Li Xinlai's hesitation and interrupted Lin Mengran, who was still chattering, "Boss, don't get angry. It's not like you don't know the situation of Xinlai's family. She is so kind. At this time, you let her really she can't do it and just sit back and watch. If you say that to her, she will feel even more confused. How about you go to the classroom first and I can have a few words with Xinlai." Tch, Lin Mengran rolled his eyes at the two of them. "I knew they treated me as an outsider and didn't want me to know. Okay, I won't be so sentimental. Sang Qin, Zhao Miyan, we are disliked. All right, let's go." Sang Qin and Zhao Miyan were a little hesitant. The teacher Zhangzi had agreed to protect their sister-in-law during this period. If they left, and something happened, not to mention whether the teacher Zhangzi would blame them, they would forgive themselves. "Can't help myself. However, you can't make my wife's life uncomfortable just because of them. This is so confusing. I'm fine." Chu Xia smiled at the two of them. "Xinlai is with me, and..." She didn't say the rest, but Sang Qin and Zhao Miyan understood that they were clearly protecting the teacher's wife. "There are two more secretly. Boss, I don't treat you as an outsider." At this moment, Li Xinlai also came to her senses and quickly grabbed Lin Mengran. "I just think that the youngest is married and has more experience in this area. I want to hear her opinion. Why don't you leave and let's go together? You." She looked at Sang Qin and Zhao Miyan again. "You can come together too. That's the kind of character she has, she's afraid of offending people." Chu Xia sighed and smiled at Sang Qin and Zhao Miyan. "You should go to your classroom first. If you really want to stay with me, you have to wait until I change departments. It is not appropriate to follow me now." "Okay," the two of them responded and left quickly. They were not stupid. Madam-in-law simply found a step for them to get off. It would be really shameful for them to continue to stand there. Lin Mengran originally wanted to leave in anger, but after thinking about it again, she could understand the reason why Li Xinlai did not dare to tell her. With her temper, she might immediately come to the door with fists to settle the score. This time, Li Xinlai did not hide anything. She clearly told Chu Xia and Lin Mengran about the performance of her sister Li Xinlan and Zhang Ji's parents. "I am also in a dilemma. I don't know if Zhang Ji and I can make it to the end. I even thought, otherwise, I might as well let it go. If my sister has the ability, she will marry into the Zhang family. If she doesn't, she can't blame anyone. As for me..." She sighed and smiled bitterly. "I'm still young, so I will always find someone who is suitable for me. It's really not a thing. Don't let me see her next time, or I'll have to break her legs. Why did you meet such a shameless sister?" Seeing Lin Mengran with an angry face and saying harsh words, Chu Xia was both moved and funny. What moved her was her true temperament, and she was absolutely mean to her friends. What was funny was that she was angry with Li Xinlai just now. "I solemnly stated that I am not an impulsive person, but I became impulsive in the blink of an eye." To be continued.